Welcome to Health Matters, the podcast where we provide you with the resources to become your best self. Today, we're going to talk about nutrition and mindful eating and all the wonderful benefits that surround it. Guys, today we have Kayla Perry, one of my dear friends, if I must say so. That's my favorite part about her. But then also, she is our registered dietitian here at Health Place. So, Kayla, I want you to first just kind of tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, what made you decide to be a dietitian, what brought you to Wellstar, kind of tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I think the most interesting story is why I became a dietitian. It's a little embarrassing, to be honest. A little embarrassing. So I was a 15-year-old, and I watched a video called Meet Your Meat by PETA, and I was horrified what they did to animals. So I decided to become a vegetarian at 15. And here's the problem, though. I did it very wrong, and I got, iron deficiency, and I wasn't getting enough B12, and I lost weight really fast, and I just felt terrible, and I was like, what am I doing? And so at 15, I started researching and figuring out that, oh my gosh, all these nutrients are important, and I was not being a good vegetarian, and I was like, wow, food is really interesting,
So not all vegetarians are good vegetarians?
No, not at all. Actually, literally all I ate was like fruit and vegetables and maybe some beans, and I was miserable. So I kind of fixed my diet. I still was a vegetarian, but then I started to do it correctly. I started to get enough protein and iron, and then I felt great, and that kind of sparked my interest in nutrition. I was initially going to go into musical theater.
Shocking, also.
Yes.
If you know Kayla, you know that that's actually not shocking at all.
So I love to sing and act and everything, and I just decided to do nutrition instead because I really wanted to help people, and I've always loved just helping people, and I do not regret a day of it becoming a dietitian because I see people feel better, and they feel better about themselves, and they start enjoying life more and enjoying food, and it's really, really amazing what food can do. It can completely help people with their diabetes and lose weight and fix their blood pressure, and theater's fun, but it can't do all those things.
Well, and I have to say, I've seen you in both realms now. I've seen you perform, and I've worked beside you.
You just saw that last weekend.
I did. Yeah. I did. I just saw you sing on stage last weekend. Guys, amazing. Amazing. But I've seen you in both realms, and having worked beside you for, 4 or 5 years now?
Quite a while.
Has it been? Yeah, 4 or 5 years. I just love watching your enthusiasm with your patients and how incredibly stoked you get.
Yes, I do. I always go, oh my gosh, Danielle. Oh my gosh. Listen what happened today, and I'll tell her about how amazing one of my patients was.
Right.
Or, it's a lot of fun.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's really great. So how did you come to Wellstar?
So you know this.
I do, but they don't. Tell them.
So it was my internship being a dietitian. You go to 10 or 12 different locations for 9 months. So
Good grief.
it's very busy internship.
Yeah.
And the special rotation, the last rotation in your internship, you get to choose. And I always thought Wellstar looked really cool, and I wanted to be a part of it. And so I ended up going to where you were actually at the bariatric services. But I got to work with the non-bariatric side as a dietitian for, I think, like 5 weeks or something like that.
5 or 6 weeks, I think it was.
And I was in love, and I loved you guys and the team.
Well, we obviously fell in love with her too, by the way.
Yes, and so after that, I got hired by Health Place because you guys didn't need a dietitian, but Health Place did.
That's right.
So, and it was just a perfect fit because there was a lot. It was still clinical nutrition, but it was a lot of, doing classes and bringing some of that like theater side that I love, and entertaining people and helping people have fun with nutrition too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now so when you talked, I want to talk a little bit about some of the classes that you do. So with your Health 365 classes in particular. Tell us a little bit about Food for Thought.
Yeah.
And what is your kind of your motive and your drive behind those?
So Food for Thought is, we really wanted to just give a free nutrition service to the employees. So it's a class, and every quarter I pick a different topic. And I try to pick a topic that's very relevant, something I hear my patients talk about a lot.
Sure.
This topic for this quarter was fad diets.
The good, the
Right?
bad, the ugly, y'all. The good, the bad, the ugly.
So it was so important because constantly, every time people come in, they're like, have you heard of this? And the ketogenic, and the intermittent fasting, and the paleo. And I'm just like, hold on. So it's not that all fad diets are bad, right? But it's trying to kind of weed through them. So yeah, every quarter I will come, and it's like a little 30-minute session just to kind of get a feeling of that nutrition topic. And then if you feel like you need more information, of course you can meet with me one-on-one. So I love doing that. I hope that I will do more classes in the future. Maybe some cooking. I love to cook.
You like that little drop she had there.
Yeah.
Cooking demos to come
Maybe some
soon,
cooking.
everybody. So not only does Kayla see patients one-on-one, she also does classes. Guys, she's basically Superwoman. Superwoman in a white coat.
And a big nerd.
And a big nerd
Speaking
also.
of that.
We're both nerds. Hence how we bonded really
Yes.
together. So what I wanted to talk about, or what I wanted you to kind of share your wealth of knowledge on today is, I feel, so me being an exercise physiologist as well for years, I hear a lot of the same things where I feel like people are so focused on those numbers.
Right.
Oh, I got to count my calories. I got to count my fat. I got to count my protein. I got to make sure that I'm losing weight, because that's a number that we both hate, that number, that weight number, that number. So what I wanted to tell everybody or kind of talk about is, what else does nutrition help you with? In a sense of self-image, how you view yourself. How can, some of these topics that you've talked about in the past, that mindful eating, ignoring the numbers, and cooking and enjoying your food, can you kind of talk to people about what that's like and how that can help you just view yourself better and not focus so much on the external, how much I weigh?
Yeah, well, I think starting with numbers is a great way to kind of start that conversation, because it's true that nutrition is a lot of numbers, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of, look at your protein, look at your fiber, look at your sugar, look at your calories. And, I do tell people some numbers, but I feel like it's an important part of the equation, but it's not the most important.
Oh, that's good.
I always tell people, I'm like, yes, calories are important. Yes, you need to pay attention to them, but I want that to kind of come last. I want that to come later. I want you to focus on other things first.
So why do you tell people that? Like, what gives you that kind of, what's your motive behind that?
Yeah, because most of the time, if people focus on a lot of other things before they focus on numbers, the numbers will come. They'll just kind of come.
That's good. So you kind of take the stress away from people by doing that? Is that what? Is that what you're kind of, okay.
Yeah, because the problem, that I often find with nutrition is that, you're right, people do get very stressed about it, and then it becomes a really unhealthy relationship, Now they're just like, oh my God, how many carbs does an apple have? Or, I can't eat peanut butter because it has too much fat in it and too many calories. And then they're like, I eat one brownie and it's all going downhill from here. And that is not the relationship I want people to have with their food.
Right.
You should still enjoy your food. Healthy food can still be tasty. You should cook your food. Healthy food should be, you nourishing yourself, because even when you look at the word nutrition, it almost kind of looks like nourish in a way. So it should be,
that's good. I like that.
like an act of self-care. And so I like people to first just kind of look at that food relationship, and kind of start to learn about like what mindful eating is. So have you heard of mindful eating?
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
And I can kind of guess what I think it is.
Yeah.
But what do you tell us a little bit about mindful eating?
So mindful eating it's kind of just like an abstract concept, but the whole mindfulness started off with actually like drug abuse.
Oh, okay.
They used it in a lot of drug and alcohol abuse, trying to teach people how to be mindful and be more in tune with their thoughts, their body, their feelings. So with food, a lot of people are like, okay, so mindful eating, it starts with, how hungry am I, or how full am I, First, it all starts with just slowing down, right? We are such a fast-paced, crazy psycho culture. culture.
Yes.
And we're like, oh my gosh, let me throw this in my face and run down the door, let me eat in the car. So, with mindful eating, I really want people to sit with their food, enjoy their food, eat their food, eat it slower. But then, it also comes down to, paying attention to things like I have a lot of people who tell me that they're lactose intolerant and they still eat like cheese and milk and sour cream. And they're like, yeah, it doesn't make me feel good. I'm like, why are you doing that to your body? You know, if your body's giving you some signals of things that don't make it feel good, your GI environment, your intestinal environment is really important. And so I like people to pay attention to things like that and tell me about it. And I was like, okay, well, maybe you have lactose intolerance, or maybe dairy is bothering you. Maybe we need to talk about that, because there's nothing like having a not bloated happy stomach.
Right. Why do you think people do that? Why do you think, knowing that something causes them to feel a certain way, why do people continue to do it? Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of it comes from people are so attached to some of these foods. A lot of people don't think that food is emotional. And when I tell them, you have a relationship with your food.
Oh, I have a relationship with some bad foods.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
They give me that like crazy look, like, what? And I'm like, you do. You have a relationship with your food. And for some people, it's very negative. The whole, like, I look at a brownie and I gain 3 pounds. And for some people, it's like, wow, like when I eat this salad or whatever, I know it's going to make me feel good. Some people, they're just so checked out. They're like, wow, ice cream tastes good. Maybe I'm lactose intolerant, and I know it doesn't make me feel good, but it tastes good, and that's all I care about.
So I have an example that I wonder if tell me if this is what you're talking about. So no judgment from our listeners, please. So every Christmas, I have an affinity for Little Debbie Christmas tree cakes.
Okay.
I know they're terrible.
Gosh, that's like childhood written all over it.
Exactly. But what it is when we were kids, and my brother also has this same exact just obsession with them. Like, for Christmas, we usually buy each other boxes of Christmas tree cakes. It's really like we just buy ourselves a box and eat them together, right? Yeah. So that kind of reminds me of what you're saying. We almost have this nostalgic attachment to them, even though they are horrible for me.
Right.
I once had one that stayed good, like didn't stale for like 6 months.
That's like the ice cream that doesn't melt.
Yeah.
It's just like that.
Exactly. So me being the, educated in this realm girl that I am, I'm like, I know that's terrible, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
It is similar, but, there's still this whole thing with, like, the whole food is bad for me, food is good for me thing. Like, this is a bad food, and, like, this is a good food. I almost like people to kind of look at it differently, and I tell my patients, if they're really focusing on mindful eating, ask yourself before you eat, whatever you're eating, what is this food going to do for me? What is this food going to do for me? Is it going to make me feel good? Does it have, nutrients in it, like, iron or vitamin A or C? Like, what is it going to do for me? Because oftentimes, I'll be honest with you, I used to struggle a lot with stress eating. And I would,
we've all been there.
Yeah, and I would eat way too many sweets, and I would feel terrible afterwards. And once I started to really tune more into the mindful eating concepts, I would try and ask myself that sort of internal question every time I went to like this, huge box of donuts that I was about to eat. And I'd be like, what is this going to do for me? Well, it has no nutrition. It's not going to make me feel good. I don't need it for any reason. There are other ways that I can relieve stress instead of eating.
Right.
So I think it's, with mindful eating, it's stopping and having that internal conversation. But then again, too, like if there's something you really, really want, right? Really, really love. I just like people to eat it again with mindfulness. Yeah. Like I still will eat a donut on occasion.
Well, yeah.
But not 6.
Right. So I can still have Little Debbie cakes. I just can't have a whole box.
Right. And eat it with intention, because I don't like people to eat out of stress or guilt or emotion. I'll usually say, this is a donut. I'm eating a donut. I haven't eaten one in like a week. This is my one donut. I'm doing it, and I feel okay about it. I'm in control of the situation.
Ooh, I like that. Being in control of the situation. So what are some different ways, other than taking that pause, that, okay, what are some ways that people can notice maybe where they're not having those mindful habits? Like, is there things, like tools that you recommend to folks that can help people kind of notice where their inconsistencies are?
Yeah, so it's something that my patients sometimes groan and complain about, but
I already know what you're going to say.
But I mean, even, with exercise, you know how important writing stuff down is.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Doing some sort of journal or
Shows
diary.
progression.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You can, because I think, again, they get stuck in that negative mindset. I have to do this so I can punish myself later, or so I can feel bad about it later.
Yeah.
But, with food and with exercise, I like to look at a journal and be like, wow, look how good I did. Look how great I'm doing. And I feel like it also helps you to identify patterns.
Yeah.
You can see things that you do or don't do often. And it's just, being accountable to yourself.
Okay.
So for some people, it depends on what their goal is. They could just food journal. You can get a MyFitnessPal app or whatever to help you write down your food. But if it's really an emotional journey, you could even do a food and emotion diary, right? Like
that's such a Kayla thing.
Yeah.
I love it. That is so Kayla. I love it.
Right? Like when you eat things, write down how you feel so you notice if you're eating from emotion or not.
Yeah.
Or if you feel like, maybe you've got some intestinal stuff going on that you want to talk about, like maybe write down things and how they make you feel, in your stomach, like if things are bothering
good.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like people to do diaries.
Okay.
For sure.
That's like, so you electronic, you can video.
Yeah.
You could.
I had a lady do a voice diary.
Oh, how cool is that?
Because she was so frustrated, just nothing else was working for her.
Yeah.
And she came up with it all her own, and she started recording the food that she ate with her voice. And she's like, you know what, Kayla? This is working for me.
And it works.
And it did.
Who
It worked
cares?
for her.
Yeah.
I've had other people who, really not great with technology, but they're very visual, so they'll keep like a picture diary.
Okay.
Instead of words, and that works for them. So you just got to find what works for you. I had this one guy who wanted to add up all the protein and fiber and calories, but he didn't want to use an app, and he did it all by hand.
That's fine.
And I'm like, oh, props to you. That's
See,
amazing.
I would totally do an Excel spreadsheet because
I know you would.
You know this about me. I have an Excel spreadsheet for my Excel spreadsheets.
Yes,
so I
do.
love the Excel spreadsheets. I think that's awesome there. So let's dive a little bit. So we talked about, I feel like journaling's kind of a good silo into the numbers.
Sure.
So when you have people journal, I notice you never once said, I have them do calories, or I have it. It depends. So, can you talk a little bit about not just the numbers in calories and macronutrients, but also in weight and things like that, and kind of how that can affect your mindfulness or even your self-image? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So honestly, usually I will kind of talk with the first person first and see where they are in their mindset. Mm-hmm. If they're feeling really confident, really positive, sure, let's dig into the numbers. Let's look at the calories. But if they're still feeling shaky, if I, hear some really negative talk from them, I'm like, we're going to focus more on mindful eating, the quality of your food. Let's focus on that first. Let's put the scale away. And when we're there, when everyone has a journey, right? And when we're there, maybe we'll dig more into the numbers. And, as I said, like food quality, if you focus more on eating healthier, fruits, vegetables, healthy fats, lean proteins, often the calories will already be there.
They will follow in place.
They will kind of follow in place.
Yeah.
If you just kind of get those healthy habits.
Yeah.
And then another one, the weight, the scale is sometimes very anxiety causing for people.
Yeah.
And so again, we'll talk, and I'm like, you know what? Just put it away, or let's weigh once a week. Because to be honest, people will weigh themselves like twice a day, and they're like, that brownie made me gain 3 pounds. And I'm like, no, it didn't.
You may have just needed a bowel movement at the time.
Right? So it starts to create some really unhealthy things.
Right.
So I do like to kind of put some healthy boundaries around those things sometimes. And then also, the thing with weight is it's not the only thing. Even with your exercise.
You are preaching. Preaching. Preach, sister, preach.
Right? When you have a lot of muscle.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavier than fat.
Absolutely.
And there's been plenty of times in my life, and I don't know if maybe your life too, where you've had a lot of muscle and maybe your BMI isn't necessarily where you want it to be, but your muscle's great, your fat's great, so who cares?
So talk a little bit about BMI. So BMI in the exercise science realm is almost an arch nemesis. And you know this as well, but BMI is that height to weight ratio, right? So why is that? It's a good number to pay attention to, but how can it kind of be your enemy sometimes? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, in general, it's a great place to start and
Yes.
usually pretty accurate for a lot of people. But when you start to get into more of like the fitness realm and you're really starting to gain a lot of muscle, you may weigh a little bit extra because you have that heavy muscle, but that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing wrong with having extra muscle.
No, guys, muscle is more dense than fat. So if you have more muscle, a pound of fat and a pound of muscle both weigh a pound, right?
Right.
But the muscle takes up less surface area.
And it makes you look good.
Yeah, exactly. It adds the chisel,
Right?
you know?
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, what Kayla's saying. I love that you brought that up because it's something that I have fought with patients for years is, you know, throw that stinking scale. Are you eating right? Well, yeah. Are you getting the right amount of exercise? Well, yeah. Then what's the problem?
Right.
Why does the weight? Are your clothes getting bigger?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, because you know, I see that a lot with the clothes thing. Is that patients will gain extra muscle, they won't lose any weight, but their pants will fit differently.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And I'm like, well, because now your body is starting to be shaped differently.
Right.
Right? You've got that muscle that is taking up less space, right?
Right.
And you look better, you're healthier. Who cares what your weight is?
Exactly. So that weight, that number, if you focus on that scale number, it can affect the way you see yourself, even though you're doing all of these amazing things like eating healthy and drinking lots and lots of water and exercising. It can really, I just think that's so powerful and people need to hear that.
Absolutely.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. So one of the things that you have taught me is to enjoy to have a relationship with cooking.
Yes.
You've taught me this a couple of years ago, and I kind of took it and ran with it, and it was so funny. I was actually making grilled fish tacos last night, and I turned around and I looked at Blake and I said, "That's my husband, by the way, listeners. You guys will learn to hear all about him." Poor guy. But I looked at him and I said, "You know, I love to cook."
That's great.
I love cooking now, where before it used to be this chore. So talk a little bit about kind of what cooking does for you in a healthy eating standpoint and why you feel like that relationship with cooking is so important.
Yeah, I have a really strong opinion about cooking, and anyone who's ever talked to me about nutrition knows that.
Yes.
Because I find that whether you're trying to gain weight, lose weight, any sort of nutrition struggle you're going through, cooking typically can make it better. Because what you do is, I tell people, you're spending time with your food, right? You're building your relationship.
Instead of just getting rid of it immediately.
Yeah, you spend more
good.
time with your food, and it does improve that food relationship. You know, you have to put this work into it, right? And you make something, and you're proud of it, and you're not gonna just scarf it all down in one thing.
So true.
You know, typically, after you're done cooking, you're not even super hungry anymore,
No.
right? Yeah.
Oh, that is so
Yeah.
Wow, I just had an aha moment. Whenever I host, which I love to do, you know that. I love to, you know, I've got all my dishes that match depending on the occasion. But when I'm hosting and I'm cooking, as soon as we're done, they always say host goes first, but I can't.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, I gotta.
Yeah.
It's almost like I want to watch them enjoy, and then that's interesting. Sorry, aha, squirrel moment there.
Yeah,
But I loved it. I loved it.
It's true, you know, and cooking, it also saves you a lot of money.
Yes,
Right?
it does. Preach.
I
Yes,
had one of my interns do a very in-depth analysis, and she found you can save like $3,000 a year.
Wow.
$3,000 a year.
Wow.
You could take a trip.
Across the world.
Yeah.
You could get plane tickets across the world for 2 people for $3,000 a year.
So if you just cook, you can save money, you know, and you are almost guaranteed to eat healthier. You know, you end up usually eating less, you know, calories, fat, salt, because when you go to restaurants, you know, they're trying to sell their food. They don't care about your health. They really don't. They don't. I mean, they just.
No, yeah. I'm
They wanna
making a face you guys can't see because I'm agreeing. I'm like, oh, that stings, but it's truth.
They want to sell their food, so they're going to put, a lot of fat on it, a lot of salt on it, to
Right.
make it taste good, to make you buy it.
Right.
And it can be really, really difficult. Even a lot of healthy options in restaurants are still like 700-800 calories, which is still a
That's
significant
a lot.
amount.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really do encourage people, also a lot of people, they get bored with their food. And cooking helps you to enjoy your food, bring out that creativity instead of eating the same exact thing every single day.
Right.
That I find really deters people away from healthy eating. That's why
yeah.
the creativity is so important.
So can you give them some resources? So where can they go to find healthy recipes that are fairly easy? Because I
Yeah.
feel like I know when I first started cooking and I would go online and there are all these, which I know what the ingredients are now.
Right.
But when I first started cooking, I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
What is that? I don't know what that is. So where's a good resource for our listeners to kind of go to?
Yeah, so I know the world of Pinterest is pretty wide.
Yes.
But I have the most success on it.
Yeah.
Usually just typing in like healthy recipes, healthy, easy recipes. You can find a lot of really good stuff.
Keyword is easy.
Healthy,
and healthy.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy.
Usually, people want to put those keywords in their recipe titles.
Right.
So if you kind of put the healthy, easy in front of it, usually you find something good. You can look up 5-ingredient stuff.
Ooh.
You can look up 1-pan meals.
Ooh, we just had the same thought and you said
Right?
it. I love that.
1-pan meals, super easy. You can look up 1-pot meals. And usually if you put the word healthy or easy or something like that in front of it, then you're going to find something that's a lot easier. Cooking Light is a decent place to go as well.
They have some fancy ingredients sometimes. Sometimes they do get
Yeah.
they get a little fancy.
Sometimes they're a little fancy.
Yeah.
And then if you need like keywords, like key healthy diet words, like the Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet were the top 2 diets of last year. Because guess what? They don't do anything crazy. They're just healthy eating. But if you need kind of some guidance,
Yeah, sure.
usually putting those words in front of things will show you pretty decent recipes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, I want you to tell everyone how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah.
And make an appointment with you.
Yeah, so you could go to wellstarhealthplace.org. I have my own little section there under nutrition. But, should I give my email?
Oh, yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's just, and we'll put this in a description attached to, on the website for you guys to be able to reference. But Kayla, it's just kayla.perry@wellstar.org.
Pretty simple.
You can shoot her an email. I'll also put the rest of your contact information in the notes just so that, they can go back if they need to call you and leave you a message or anything like that.
So I do see people one-on-one, and I do teach these classes too. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask me. I love to help people find their way and what's most appropriate for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming in and chatting with me today. We chat every day.
We do. This is normal life.
I was about to say, this doesn't even feel like work. It's my friend. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in today. And if you want some of the notes from today, if you want to reach out to Kayla, just check out our description below. And thanks for tuning in.